Hello friends, welcome to Film Critic channel. We review and critique the best films in the world on this channel. We use your comments for better criticism. If you like this kind of channel, then subscribe us from the bottom and put the bell next to it so that whenever we have a new movie, it'll be announced to you. Today we are going to look for the very beautiful film The Suicide Squad. You want to check out the beautiful movie for you, so stay with us.
Suicide Squad was
Apparently, the savior and angel of the DC Guardian is currently none other than James Gunn, a virtuoso creative person who has proved not once, but several times, that he knows what a comic book is and fully understands how to make a first-rate comic book movie to fascinate the minor and the great. James Gunn, directed by The Suicide Squad, is definitely and truly the savior of the DC cinematic universe to date.
nearly every shot in this movie is moving. And not only is it moving, but we want to get in really close and around people and between people, and you just can't do that with a
Suicide Squad 2 directs any form elements we've seen in the first film, directed by David Ayer, directly into the trash. This does not mean that Suicide Squad 1 is a bad cinematic work. In fact, the first film can attract a large audience from the entertainment aspect, but James Gunn publicly lets go of David Ayer's plans. James Gunn, who previously took a chance with the movie Guardians of the Galaxy. This time, he worked with his hands full on the lavish Suicide Squad project, an excruciating activity with an ideal and hearty output. The work that the author of Suicide Squad 2, after watching twice in 24 hours, has decided to write a critique about it, why and how we can watch a very good comic book movie in the DC cinematic universe after a long time. The film Suicide Squad 2 has two independent stories. The story is neither connected to the first film nor with many references trying to make a hot market for other films. Of course, in a few places in the film, we see references. For example, in the middle part of the film, when Harley Quinn takes his gun and does what we don't think. With an emotional act and a few dialogues, Margot Robbie referred entirely indirectly to the past as well as the film Birds of Prey. James Gunn's new film is not at all reliant on any of the previous DC films, and as stated in Fermi's aspect, it is a completely independent work.
He's really good at creating an atmosphere where things come to life.
In the second film, we encounter more comic book characters, including Bezel and King's Shark, whose pair are funnily designed and will remain in the audience's hiding. James Gunn has proved that one can watch a superhero movie and did not expect a stereotypical film. Since the main characters in the film are not superheroes, it is easier to break common stereotypes for such a comic book film, since characters like Bloodsport and Pacemaker are not supposed to be absolutely heroes. Like other Suicide Squad soldiers, they have been captured to complete their mission. The filmmaker makes the most of this simple category, highlighting the mistakes of the characters and hitting the audience in the face so that the viewer laughs at the stupidity of the characters. The first team members of the Suicide Squad launch a full-fledged Bolshevik at the beginning of the film, which both shocks the viewer, and the stormy events at the beginning of the film make the audience laugh. In terms of entertaining the viewer, the filmmaker finishes with a very good directorship. To instill this, simply compare the battles of Harley Quinn in this film to his other performances in past works. Harley's imposing certainty in James Gunn's film is something else and on another level. Where the camera is located and how the scene is managed, James Gunn has been able to create innovative sequences with his delights. In Suicide Squad 2, we encounter Idris Elba, who shines well in the role of Bloodsport. This fleeting and nervous character, who is supposed to be the leader of the group, must have both an established personality and a sharp tongue. With her efforts, Idris Elba has been able to show a fascinating Bloodsport to the viewer that we are. On the other hand, we have Margot Robbie, who, as before, is both Tana's Kadri and another capable. It seems that this actor was created only for an artist in the role of Harley Quinn. After the film Suicide Squad 2, it's very hard to imagine a new Harley Quinn in the awe of a new actress.
the special moments between characters.
It's just suicide. Well, that's kind of our thing.
I think these are characters that anyone can fall in love with and anyone can hate.
Hollywood's familiar name actor Viola Davis also shines well in Waller's role. This time, Waller has a more important role in the story, and it's not merely a useless sub-character.
I'm in a scene with a shark.
And
Yes, that is your hand. Very good.
we're all gonna die.
Treating all of this.
John Cena is one of the other new actors in the Suicide Squad who was in the film along with Idris Elba, and it is very hard to see an actor as the best person in the project. John Cena will definitely play a more important role in James Gunn's upcoming projects. Hollywood's familiar name actor Viola Davis also shines well in Waller's role. This time, Waller plays a more important role in the story and is not merely a useless sub-character. A feeling is formed within the viewer's heart toward Waller, and so we have to admire his character in the script for Part 2. With all these interpretations, there are also problems with the film Suicide Squad.
This film is gonna blow people's minds.
It's such an experience.
The first objection of the film is that Judenheim is an excuse to move Bloodsport and his team to the heart of the story, but one or more negative characters are required for a comic book film. The film Suicide Squad 2 does not have a proper negative character. In fact, a starfish, even if it's a fascinating innovation in a comic book movie, is also a Suicide Squad. But the filmmaker initially tries to introduce a mysterious character to the viewer, a man named Tinker, who plays Peter Capaldi. If you're old, you'll probably know Capaldi with the series Doctor Who. It should be noted that he is a good actor and has won even an Oscar. Nevertheless, the role of Seinker in the film Suicide Squad 2 is not so much a boned and interesting role. In his own words, the filmmaker has not delivered theatric at all in his screenplay, and as simple as this mysterious character is introduced, he is simply removed from the fictional line once and for all.
With James, it felt
Combined with the heart that the movie has.
The second objection of the film, which is better to say underperformance than objection, is in the characterization of My Polka Dot. A character who plays a ridiculous role among the all-star Suicide Squad, but James Gunn does not benefit from the ridiculous capability of Polka Dot Man at all. King Shark focuses so much on the film's humor that if this strange humanoid character wasn't in the film, perhaps Polka Dot Man's inadequate performance, both in comedy and action, was more likely. Ratcatcher 2 also has no masterpiece role, and we understand why he is on the Suicide Squad team at the end of the film. The film has nothing to say in terms of subtext or concepts that must be conveyed to the viewer through fictional plot, except for one sentence: rats are the lowest and most humiliated stratum of society. We hear this simple sentence only once late in the film from the character's language. In fact, instead of describing a mathnavy of my 70s about human ethics and values, the filmmaker says only one sentence, but in the right place and where it has the greatest impact on the viewer. A sentence that can also be extended to the performance of the Suicide Squad, which the members of the squad, regardless of their powers, like rats, are despised human beings. James Gunn publicly, with this very tough and challenging approach, gives a firm mouth to all the people who say that superhighway films have done something to make authentic cinema vulgar. How to convey such an important concept to the viewer in an influential way with a sentence.
As if it was absolutely real. And that's what makes it fun to make.
What James does really well is make the most impossible imagery look very real.
he just pulls off the bizarre in such a spectacular and cinematic way.
It is really visceral, really alive, brightly colorful and beautiful, but it's also very dirty and gritty and has all of those elements as well.
The badassery of these characters makes for interesting dichotomies.
I cherish peace with all my heart.
The Suicide Squad 2 is one of the best feature films in the DC world, appearing beyond a forgotten stereotype. Suicide Squad 2, directed by James Gunn, tells the story of a fascinating story and editing, and the unique performances of superstars such as Idris Elba, one of your most fun and heartbreaking cinematic experiences in 2021. Ocker's friends like this clip and follow us on YouTube and follow our Instagram page.